Welcome. This video is some quick tips for caring for yourself while caring for young children. So I want to offer 5 practical self-care tips you can try with your young children at home. So when they're there with you every day, all the time, here are some things you can try out to help take care of yourself. The first one is exercise. I'm not going to lie, not a huge fan of exercise, but near the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we were stuck in our house a lot. I was stuck in the house with the kids. My husband would leave for work. And I found that my mental health, my energy, everything was just sort of on the decline. And I realized that if we can't get outside every single day, my kids love to be in nature, they love to run around, but it's just not always feasible living in the lower mainland. There's a lot of rain. And so we needed to find a way to move our bodies even when we were inside. And so a habit that got created based on, I'll give my husband some credit here, this was his idea. We created the habit of exercising together and doing it at the same time. So not always the same workouts. Sometimes I'll put on some yoga and we'll all do the same thing, but we're kind of all at different levels. So my favorite thing to do is on our TV, I'll put some YouTube, or if I can throw it up on the computer, whatever device I can get my hands on, I'll put on some yoga. Our downstairs neighbors are not super happy about noise. So I try to do exercise for them that is not going to be jumping around a lot or making too much noise. If they do want to do some YouTube, some great exercises for kids, like little routines and stuff like that. If they want to do one that's going to be a little noisier, I'll try to put down some extra pillows. But usually they're perfectly happy with a little bit of that Cosmic Kids yoga. And I'll put that on, and they're so happy to do it. So they get their exercise. They understand what it's like to take some scheduled time every day to devote to moving your body and exercising. So it isn't just being out in nature or playing at the playground. It's guided exercise. So I love that they get that habit. They get to see me modeling that habit, and I get time for myself. So usually I'll just sit in the background and do whatever it is I need to do for myself, and the kids are perfectly happy with it. So I think that this is something we've continued on now for 1.5 years, and it's worked out really well for my family. And that's sort of how I fit my exercise in the day. Our building has a gym, but they don't usually allow children in. So if I can get my kids in there, sometimes I'll set up some yoga for them in there. And then I have actual equipment to use, but I can usually manage with just being in the house and getting it done this way. Nutrition. This is a very tiny tip, and I don't know that everyone's going to take it, but another mom suggested this to me, and I found like it actually made a really big difference in my everyday life. I habitually skip breakfast and lunch, and I'm so bad about forgetting to eat, or when I do eat, it's just, like I'll unpack a granola bar and whatever's fastest, and it's just not healthy. So another mom said, oh, whenever I make my kids their lunch, even if I'm packing it to go to daycare, school, whatever, I just pack myself the exact same thing. Or a variation of the same thing, or even if it's just the cut up fruits and veggies. Like I'm happy to take an apple to work, but she was saying, if I'm cutting up apple for my kids, I just cut up extra for myself, because every time I tell myself I'm going to bring the apple or that I'll eat the apple, I end up forgetting it. So if I have a packed lunch just the way the kids do, or if I have a plate just the way the kids do, I'm just way more likely to eat healthy and have more of a balanced meal. So I try not to pick off of their plates, although if I finish my meal and they're done and there's some extras, I don't like to waste it, so I will. But not having a plate of my own and picking off of whatever's left of their food is not a real meal. So I found that this makes a really big difference. I'm good with dinner, and we always have our nice family meals together. But I found breakfast and lunch, it was minimal at best, or I was living off of coffee. I think that's why I put a coffee picture on there. So the third one is about me time. Realistically, with children under the age of 6, there isn't going to be a ton of me time unless you've got extra support, or you've got daycare, preschool, whatever it might be. But if you're anything like me, I've had my kids home with me. My daughter's 5, my son's 3. they've been home with me most of their lives. We've done a little bit of daycare. My daughter did a few months of preschool, but COVID hit, and there was a year and a half of not having access to some of those things. So I had to get creative. And when I asked some other professionals and some other families, one of the other things that came up was, if you can't get actual time alone, that's supposed to say make a habit of setting aside time in the day where you each have quiet and playtime in your own space. This is great just for your kids, and you could use this time to do household stuff. But this is also an opportunity where if you just need some uninterrupted time to yourself, it's great. You want to set your kids up for success. So if you're genuinely trying to read a book, I don't find watching a show works very well, because kids will see that you're on your screen and they want to be there. But if you're looking to, I've been doing some work from home, so I use that time to get a little bit of work done, whatever it might be. It's nice if you could just treat yourself to some me time though, and do something that's fun for you. But set your kids up. Put them in separate spaces, because if we all know kids, they will fight if they're in the same space for too long. So my kids, I'm lucky enough that they each have their own bedroom. So I put them each in their own bedroom. Sometimes they don't want to go in their room, and I put one in the living room, one in my room. I'm happy to go wherever. But if you split them up, get them some drinks ready, get them a snack ready that you don't necessarily need to supervise them eating and can't make a huge mess. I find like a little mixed snack plate works really well. So if they get bored of one food, there's still something else there. Make sure they take a little bathroom break, so they might not need your help doing that. And I just say, okay, guys, it's time to go play quietly in your rooms for a bit. And usually, I'll set them up with some sort of toy. Like my daughter likes to do dolls, and she can kind of figure that out on her own. And my son, maybe I'll set up a train track, or so I'll try to get his sort of play set up for him so that he's happy. So yeah, just setting it up in advance so that you actually have time for yourself. And then taking that time, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I just sit on the couch. I just sit there and I take a breather, and I'm just off my feet, and I'm happy to just be off my feet for a few minutes. Because usually with my kids, they're very high energy, and we're out and about, or I'm on my feet if I'm in the house cleaning up after them. So it's just, just the way you would get a break at work, hopefully. This is the same idea. If I'm putting in a 12-hour day with the kids, I want at least half an hour where I can just sit down and rest and breathe. And I need peace and quiet in the house too. So I really try to set them up with activities that don't make a lot of noise. I know some of you are thinking, well, what if my child's not old enough to play unsupervised? And that's a very valid point. You can still have quiet time together. You can do it while they're napping, but I want to be realistic that this whole like nap when the baby naps thing, I haven't actually met a whole lot of moms that are able to do that. We usually use those opportunities to cook, clean, do the laundry, do whatever else it is you need to do. But what I used to do with my kids is when they would wake up from their nap, they'd usually be a little bit cranky and they'd need some time to adjust. And so I would actually see that as an opportunity to just sit, cuddle on the couch. And sometimes I'd look at my phone, or sometimes I'd bring a book and read a book. They just want me to be close with them, but they don't really need me to do anything. And so I would use that opportunity, because I know I wasn't going to get stuff done around the house. Like my son was super clingy when he would wake up. So I knew that I would get that time every day after his nap to just sit there and cuddle and have a little break. And because I wouldn't be able to run around the house and accomplish things in that time. So finding some time in the day while your kids are awake, where they're learning that mom needs a break, and they have to figure something out that they're doing that allows you to get off your feet and not ask for things every 3 seconds. Creating in boundaries and rules for your home that help you not feel like you're cooking, cleaning, and caring all day long. So it could be that if you do your me time, or that's the boundary and that's the rule, is you can actually say, I'm setting a timer for 20 minutes and you need to play, and you're not allowed to come get mom unless it's an emergency. You're not coming to ask questions. You're not asking, my daughter loves to dress up in all her clothes. And sometimes she uses that time to go through her closet and try on outfits. And I'm like, nope, you need to get it on and off by yourself. This is the time that I've set aside for me. So you need to go play quietly. I don't know if this is going to fit for everyone, but a boundary that I've set and that my husband is well aware of, I didn't need to tell my kids about this one, is I limit household tasks to once the kids have gone to bed. So I try not to do household related chores after they've gone to bed for the night, and some nights they're asleep at 6:37, sometimes it's 8, some rarely it's up to 9, but they go to bed pretty early. And I have found that if I have that time to do whatever I want, I'm a much happier human being and a much better mom. And that's what I need for myself. Not everyone needs that time alone, but I need time alone and like alone. My husband's always like, why don't you go out with your friends? I'm like, no, you don't get it. I want time to be away from people. So that's my time to read a book, or sometimes I take an extra long shower, or I paint my nails, or whatever it is. Often I'm just watching some shows. Whatever it is that brings you joy or that helps you recharge, do that if you can, depending on what time your kids go to bed. Sometimes I just go to sleep really, really early. But I need to have that time for myself to feel sane. And so I only do major household tasks in that time if it's really, really urgent. So if there's something that has to be taken care of, or if I am watching a show, sometimes I'll fold some laundry at the same time, just so I feel like I'm accomplishing a few things for the next day. But any boundary that works for you, any household rule that works for you, that your partner or whoever else, the caregivers in the home, or maybe your children, but like that other people actually know, like, I'm not being lazy. This is just what I need for myself every day. Save screen time for when it's really important, and for emergencies. So I try not to just give screen time because my kids are asking. I try to limit them to an hour a day. And there are days when they get none, and there are days when they get an hour on the dot. And of course, there are days when they get more than that. I think that it's really important in terms of self-care is to figure out when you need it most in the day. So if I know I'm going to try to limit to an hour, for me personally, my kids go to bed early, which means they wake up early. So they're up at like 6:30. If I have to work that day, I need time to get ready, pack lunches, do all those kind of things. So I take an hour, try to wake up early and have a full hour, but I give them a chunk of their screen time in the morning, just so I can speed through getting them dressed, getting myself ready, packing the lunch if I need to finish packing lunches. So getting all the bags ready, that's just where I need it. Most other moms that I've talked to say that they save screen time for getting dinner ready, just because it's a safety issue and they don't want the little hands prying. My kids love to help me cook dinner, and if they don't feel like it, they're perfectly happy to play. So my preference is morning. Everyone's going to have a different preference. I know when my kids were little and my daughter stopped napping, but my son was napping, I saved screen time for when my son was napping. We live in a small place, and I didn't want her playing to wake him up. So she was allowed to get her hour of screen time while he napped. So it's wherever you're at in your life that makes sense for you, but try to pre-plan it rather than it just being, oh yeah, okay, let's do screen time right now. And the other piece for that too, in terms of self-care, is I've had days where I've been really, really sick and had no support. My husband goes away for work a lot. And so I remember not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago, I had a horrible stomach flu and no help at all. And so I set up some snacks on the ground. I remember getting their waters filled, whatever I could muster the energy to do. And I took some medication, laid down on the couch, and had the TV on for them all day long. And I was perfectly happy to do it. They were just like, wow, this is crazy. You go TV for a whole day. But that's what I needed to do to take care of myself to get through that emergency. And I will say, like, I still think about it to this day. I'm like, a whole day of TV. But I don't feel guilt because I needed it in order to care for myself, and I needed it in order to keep my kids safe. So it had to be done. I have one more bonus one, and I call it a bonus because it really doesn't apply to everyone. But if you have the luxury of having supportive people around you, friends, family, community, do not feel guilty asking for help, unless you know they're the kind of person who gets angry by that. But I have found, I'm pretty bad about asking for help, but when I do, most people are happy that I've asked, even if they can't actually do it. They're like, I'm so glad that you felt comfortable asking me. Unfortunately, I have to work that day, or hey, can I do it another time if it's just you needing a break? I think as moms, we feel guilty asking for help or asking another mom, but you can try swapping. You can say, hey, I just really need a break once a week. Do you think we could do a play date where I take your kids one day and then you take my kids another day? And then we, they get play dates twice a week and we each get a break. If you can work something like that out, it's just so, so important. If you don't have anyone who's able to help, you can look into support services like counseling, seeing a psychologist, or support services like the Early Years Parent Support Program here at Camray. And it's just someone you can talk to when there's no one else. And the nice piece too about, when you go to a counselor or psychologist, that's great. That's you time. That's an hour you might get, hopefully once a week if you can do it. But those cost a lot of money if you don't have the right kind of coverage. So if you do have that coverage, use it up. I guarantee you will like it, and it'll help. But community programs like ours are really great because they can offer one-to-one services and support if you need it, where you're actually discussing parenting issues. But then the flip side of it too is with the groups, whether they be online or in person, you can meet other families in your community. They're likely to live close to you. And so it's a great first step to building a community, having friends in the area that you live in, helping your kids meet other kids. It's really hard when your kids don't go to school or preschool for them to meet other children. So getting out there and finding those supports and creating that sense of community for yourself is just so, so important. So I just want to finish up with our contact information. If you have any further questions, you can call our office at 604-436-9449. You can email us at one of the given email addresses there. The admin one is just a general one for the whole agency, and the PSP group sign up at camray.ca is for our specific program. And you can check out our website at www.camray.ca. Thank you so much for joining me today.